We are waiting to reach quorum so that the session can start. Right now we have about half of the quorum needed. I would like to remind you to please be seated. Insert your voting cards into the microphone. Thank you. Good morning. We're 3 parties away from quorum. We're 3 parties away. Thank you.
So, dear colleagues, we're ready to start. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, Your Excellency, Madam Secretary General, distinguished delegates, dear colleagues and friends. I hope you are enjoying participation at the CoP20 and your visit to Samarkand. On behalf of the National Committee on Ecology and Climate Change of the Republic of Uzbekistan, it's a great pleasure to address you today as we enter the final stage of this historic CITES CoP20 in Samarkand. Allow me to begin by sincerely thanking all parties, observers, experts, committee chairs, and the CITES Secretariat for the extraordinary work accomplished over the past days. Your long hours of negotiations, your professionalism, and your commitment to constructive dialogue have shaped the progress we see today. We now have 2 days of plenary remaining, 2 decisive days that will set on the direction of global wildlife governance of years ahead. I'm pleased to note that the sessions have been progressing successfully and that agreements are being reached across many agenda items. We are also encouraged to see our neighbors, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, actively advancing their proposals and contributing meaningfully to this COP. Uzbekistan fully supports these efforts and values strong regional cooperation. Throughout this conference, parties have discussed some of the most important issues on the CITES as the regulation of international trade, identifying species at the risk of extinction, exemptions and special trade provisions, the disposal of confiscated specimens, and others. These are not theoretical questions. They shape how we protect biodiversity, how we manage sustainable use, and how we fight illegal trade. The environmental and socio-economic challenges we face globally are significant, but together we're demonstrating that cooperation, respect, and compromise remain the strongest tools we have. I also hope that during these intense negotiations, you have had a moment to enjoy the hospitality, culture, and history of Uzbekistan, as well as visit our historic seats. Samarkand is a city built on the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and partnership, values that lie at the heart of the CITES family. As we move into the final phase of CITES CoP20, I encourage all parties to stay focused and maintain the spirit of collaboration that has defined our work so far. Let us use these remaining 2 days to finalize decisions that are science-based, fair, and implementable. Decisions that strengthen conservation while supporting sustainable livelihoods for the millions of people around the world who depend on healthy ecosystem and legal, well-regulated trade. Uzbekistan, as the host country, is honored to support this process. We firmly believe that through collective action, as parties, as regions, and as a global community, we can ensure that CITES remains strong, relevant, and effective for the next 50 years. Thank you for your dedication, your partnership, and your commitment to our shared mission. I wish all delegations productive discussions and successful outcomes in the remaining days of COP20. Katta Rahmat. So, dear colleagues, the first item to be considered today is the adoption of the summary record of the first plenary session on 24th November 2025. I call on the conference to approve the summary record documents COP20 Plan Rec 1. I open the floor to parties for any comments Parties, floor is yours. United States, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. In terms of agenda item number 4, rules of procedure of the Conference of the Parties, we have one particular edit. In the 4th sentence, it says the Standing Committee did not agree, and we'd like to change that to reach a decision on whether.
Thank you, notes.
We have another edit in item number 12, Committee Reports and Recommendations, 12.1, the report of the Chair of the Standing Committee. We have Dr. Rosemary Nam. Her name is spelled incorrectly. It's R-O-S-M-A-R-I-E, Rosemary. That's it for the
Noted.
United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you, noted. I open the floor to comments from non-parties, intergovernmental organizations, and other observer organizations. Quiet.
Thank you, Chair. Shall I report on the election of our region?
Not yet.
Thank you.
Seeing no intervention, the summary record CoP20 Rec 1 is hereby adopted. Done. So, what amendments from the United States? So, agenda items 12. Next agenda items is item 12. I invite the regional representative of the Standing Committee to report on the selection by each region of the members and alternate members to serve on the Standing Committee, Animals Committee, and the Plants Committee from their respective regions. I will call on each region to present in the alphabetical order. First, I invite Africa to present their report. Zimbabwe, you have a floor.
Thank you, Chair. Zimbabwe makes this report on behalf of Africa. The Africa Regional Meeting agreed on the following members to fill the vacancies in the committees. The Standing Committee. Senegal will become a member of the Standing Committee for the Africa region. The representatives for Africa region on the Standing Committee will therefore be Chad, Kenya, Madagascar, and Senegal. Alternates. The new alternate member of the Standing Committee for Africa region will be Algeria. The alternate members of the Standing Committee for Africa region will therefore be Democratic Republic of Congo, United Republic of Tanzania, Zambia, and Algeria. Animals Committee. We have Mr. Djibril Duke of Senegal, and his alternate is Dr. So Hamidou of Comoros. Plants Committee. We have Ms. Flo Komba of Gabon, and her alternate will be Betty Jean Lagarde of Cameroon. The nomenclature specialist for the Africa region that was supported by Africa is Ms. Ronelle Renette Klober of South Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. on behalf of Africa. I now turn to Kuwait, representing the Asia region.
Thank you, Chair. For Asia region, Singapore was elected as a member, and Indonesia is the alternate member. Japan, Kuwait will continue their period as a regional representative. China and India will continue as an alternate. For the Animal Committee, we elected China, and Indonesia will continue their period. And we re-elect Singapore and Japan as an alternate for Animal Committee. For the Plant Committee, China is a member, and Indonesia was elected. Thailand and Singapore will continue their period. Thank you, Chair, as alternate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kuwait, on behalf of Asia. I now turn to Argentina, representing the Central and South America and the Caribbean region. Please.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Para nuestra región, para el Comité Permanente, tenemos como representantes regionales a Brasil, República Dominicana y Panamá, y como alternos Ecuador, Cuba y Honduras. Para el Comité de Animales tenemos a Daniel Ramadori de Argentina, Shirley Ramírez Carvajal de Costa Rica. Como alternos, María Piedad Baptiste, Colombia, y Juan Martín Dush Meyer de Guatemala. Para el Comité de Plantas, César Augusto Beltetón Chacón de Guatemala y María Tonelli de Argentina. Y como alternos, Jacqueline de Los Ángeles Pérez Cambacho de Cuba y Alejandro Araujo Maracami de Bolivia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. On behalf of Central and South America and the Caribbean region. I now turn to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, representing the Europe region. Please.
Thank you, Chair. The Europe region has selected the following for the various committees. For Standing Committee, France and Germany will join as the members, joining Georgia and the United Kingdom. As alternates, we have Czechia, Spain and Monaco joining Israel. For the Animals Committee, the representatives will be Mona van Schingen-Kahn from Germany and Siri Eckermann from Sweden. The alternates will be Vida Vukalic from Croatia and Alison Littlewood from the UK. For Plants Committee, Hugo de Boer was selected to join Nolene Smith from Ireland as the representatives, and Daniel Wolf from Germany and Sonia Danda from the UK will be the alternates. The region also supported the nomination of Arnaud Horalou from France as the alternate nomenclature specialist for animals. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. On behalf of Europe, I now turn to United States of America, representing the North America region. Please.
Thank you, Chair. For the North American region, the member of the Standing Committee will be Canada, and the alternate member will be the United States. For the member of the Animals Committee, it will be Dr. Thomas Leuteritz, representing the United States. The member of the alternate member of the Animals Committee will be the representative from Mexico. For the member of the Plants Committee, it will be the member from Canada, Ms. Marie-Ève Paquette. And for the Plants Committee, the alternate member will also be a representative from Mexico. Is that all right?
What's up? Names? And names, please, also. United States. United States. About the names.
I'm sorry, Chair, can we have 1 second, please?
Okay. And turn to the Vice Chair of the Animals Committee regarding the zoological nomenclature specialists and alternate specialists. Please.
Thank you, Chair. The nomenclature specialist for the Animals Committee continues to be Peter Paul van Dyke from United States. And the alternate, we've had the one nomination, which is Dr. Arnaud Aurelou from France. And so welcome him on the Animals Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I now turn to New Zealand, representing the Oceania region.
Thank you, Chair. The Oceania Regional Meeting agreed on the following members to fill the vacancies in the committees. For the Animals Committee, we have Mr. Andrew Murrell from Australia, who will be a member of the Animals Committee representing the Oceania region. The new alternate member of the Animals Committee for Oceania will be Miss Annie Brumby from New Zealand. So that means the Animals Committee has Mr. Andrew Murrell from Australia as the regional representative and Miss Annie Brumby from New Zealand as the alternate. For the Plants Committee, we have reappointed Mr. Damien Wigley from Australia as the member for the Plants Committee for the Oceania region. So for the Plants Committee, we have Mr. Damien Wrigley from Australia as the regional representative, and we have Mr. Hemuli Likiafu from Tonga as the alternate. With regards to the Standing Committee, there is no change, and New Zealand will continue to represent the region as the member on the Standing Committee with Australia as the alternate. I want to briefly take the opportunity to thank Mr. Hugh Robertson, who has just stepped down from his role representing Oceania on the Animals Committee after 15 years. In his time, Hugh also chaired the Sharks and Rays Working Group. Hugh has represented the region very effectively. He is very generous with his extensive knowledge of the working of CITES, and he's actively supported parties in the region with very pragmatic advice. Thank you, Hugh, for being an incredible mentor and colleague, and we will miss you and your sense of humour. Thank you.
Thank you. United States, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair. My apologies for the confusion. So for the United States, the member of the Standing Committee will be Canada. The alternate member will be the United States. The member of the Animals Committee will be Dr. Thomas Loiteritz from the United States. The alternate member of the Animals Committee will be Ezequiel Benitez Diaz from Mexico. The member of the Plants Committee will be the member from Mexico, again, Ezequiel Benitez Diaz. And the alternate member of the Plants Committee is the representative from Canada, Ms. Maria Paquette. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States. On behalf of North America, I turn to the chair of the plans of committee regarding the botanical nomenclature specialists. Please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Comité des plantes a sélectionné Madame Renelle Klopper comme spécialiste en nomenclature botanique du Comité pour les plantes sur la base des candidatures reçues de l'Afrique du Sud. La conférence des parties est invitée à confirmer cette nomination. Je saisis l'opportunité d'exprimer ma profonde gratitude à chaque membre et membre suppléant du Comité pour les plantes, ainsi qu'à notre spécialiste en nomenclature. Votre expertise scientifique, votre dévouement, votre esprit de collaboration et votre disponibilité ont été essentiels à la réussite des travaux du comité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, thank you. I now open to floor to any interventions regarding these nominations, please. Seeing no objections, the Conference of the Parties elects the members to the permanent committee selected by the regions as indicated by the representative of the regions just now. Adopted. So, next agenda items, items 4, rules of procedure. I would like to draw your attention to document CoP20.4. As you may recall, at the first decision of the Plenary of Conference of the Parties adopted the amended rules of procedure contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20.4 and deleted decision 18.1 review CoP19. The conference agreed that the draft decision in Annex 1 would be considered and subsequent plenary session. The Conference of the Parties is requested to adopt the draft decision on rules of procedure of the Conference of the Parties contained in Annex 1 to the present document. I open the floor to the parties. The floor is open. Canada, please.
Thank you, Chair. Canada listened attentively to our discussion of this proposed decision during the first plenary session under your able leadership. Canada heard the concerns raised by parties regarding the substance of the discussion, and in light of the extensive workload that we have been discussing all week, and in light of the discussions we had in the first plenary session, Canada would no longer support the adoption of this decision. We feel we have made some good progress with our current rules of procedure, and perhaps it is time to continue to work with the rules of procedure we have agreed, and should another matter arise in the future, we could, at that time, decide if we need to re-examine the rules. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other interventions? Oh, Zimbabwe, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate the work done by the Intersessional Working Group on the rules of procedure in which Zimbabwe also participated. We would have preferred Rule 25 to remain unchanged, as we do not see the rationale of changing it, but in the spirit of compromise, we are willing to consider and adopt the amendments proposed in paragraph 6 of Rule 25.6 contained in Annex 2 to the present document. At this moment, Zimbabwe strongly opposes the adoption of draft decision to continue consideration of the possible inclusion of a stepwise approach in Rule 25.6 contained in Annex 1 to the present document. Introduction of each proposal prior to submitting any of them for discussion and decision allows the Chair to provide information on the implications of each proposal, hence allowing voting parties to exercise their rights with full knowledge and having given due regard to all proposals on the same taxon. This provides adequate justice to all parties. We also propose deletion of decision 18.1 Rev CoP19. The general acceptance principles established over years without any difficulties are the trade restrictions should be imposed only when they are really necessary, and that any measures introduced should be at least trade restrictive as possible. It is unclear on what the illegitimate objective of introducing this stepwise approach, hence we wish to urge proponents of the stepwise approach to consider other introduction of the stepwise approach, other reasonably available alternatives to achieve the same objective. As Zimbabwe, we support comments made by Canada. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, the member. South Africa, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. South Africa, as previously stated in the first session of plenary, South Africa noted the absence of consensus within the working group on the stepwise approach. In our view, the stepwise approach does not offer tangible benefits to the consideration of proposal, particularly in light of the amendments to the rules of procedure already adopted under Annex 2 of document CoP20 Doc 4. For this reason, Chair, South Africa does not support the adoption of the draft decision 20 as contained in Annex 1. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, South Africa. Indonesia, floor is yours.
Dear Chair, regarding the amendment rules procedures 25.6, Indonesia take note the discussion in the working group and interinstitutional meetings. While the current text does accommodate our intentional concern by starting with the least restriction proposal to the trade, it nevertheless requires that all proposals be discussed, even when the least restrictive proposal already has been agreed. This is something we cannot accept. It defeats the purpose of considering least restriction option first, requiring discussion for all proposals, even after consensus is reached, make the decision-making inefficient. Efficiency is a core of principle of the UN 80 Reform Initiative, which call for streamlined process, clear outcomes, avoidance of duplicates. The proposed amendment runs counter to this principle, as it would be burden parties with unnecessary deliberations and weaken the effectiveness of our collective decisions making. Additionally, there are deeper concerns. First, discussion of all proposals would undermine the clarity of decisions and weaken the protective measure parties may wish to adopt. Second, the proposed amendment runs against the interests of developing countries, which many of them are hosts of mega biodiverse flora and fauna. Third, it opened the door to procedures maneuvering, risk politicization, and undermining the trust integrity of the conference. In general, Indonesia believes the proposed text remains continuous. The text as reflected in the document will not reach a consensus. If the proposal of continues to be discussed, Indonesia would call the vote, which the 2/3 majority requirement maintained and in line with the President's establishment of COP16. Thank you.
Thank you, Indonesia. European Union, please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good morning to all. On behalf of the European Union and its member states, we support the proposed amendments to Rule 25.6, as well as the decision to continue discussions on the stepwise approach in the intersessional period. We wanted to take the opportunity to make a statement on the participation of the European Union and its member states in COP20. We don't know if this is the appropriate time or you want to first finish the adoption of the document and we make the statement later, as you wish.
European Union, we will conclude and back again.
Okay, thank you.
Mexico, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Buenos días. A nuestro entender, los cambios en las reglas de procedimiento ya fueron adoptadas en la primera sesión de la plenaria. Eso no está abierto a discusión. Lo único que estamos decidiendo es si se acepta el borrador de decisión o no. Nuestro punto de vista es que no es necesaria esta decisión y que podamos cerrar el debate y proceder con los siguientes puntos. Gracias.
Thank you. Israel? Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. We were actually going to say what Mexico said, that these rules and the changes to Rule 25.6 were already decided by this Conference of the Parties. So opening that discussion again is not on the agenda at this moment. In terms of the draft decision, which is what we have to decide, we would support Canada, who had, and others who have said not to continue the discussion. The intersessional working group spent a lot of time working on it, came up with a really good compromise. We don't feel that there will be any effort, any success in creating something different until we try this out, at least in a few COPs, and see that it works. So we would suggest, Chair, that we make a decision on the draft decision and complete our work today.
Thank you. So, it's not my intention to open the floor to observer organization on this item. Thank you. So, I don't see much support in this room for continuing this work. Would anyone be strongly opposed to not adopt this decision? Nobody? Okay. The Conference of the Parties doesn't adopt decision on rules of procedure of the Conference of the Parties contained in Annex 1 to present document. EU for the statement.
Thank you very much. We would like the meeting to note that the European Union and its member states have participated in the meeting as usual. Thank you.
Thank you. This is no further request. So. We will now consider the report from Committee 1 and Committee 2. Agenda items 7, administration, finance, and budget of the Secretariat and of meeting of the Conference of the Parties. I invite the Chair to report the recommendation of Committee 2.
Thank you, Chair. For item 7.1, administration of the Secretariat, document CoP20, doc 7.1 was noted. Document 7.2, report of the Executive Director of UNEP on administrative matters, document CoP20, doc 7.2 was noted. 7.3, financial reports for 2023 to 2025, document CoP20, doc 7.3 was noted. The report of expenditures incurred was accepted, and the reports of implementation of the costed programs of work for 2023, 2024, and 2025 up to 30th September 2025 were approved. A draft decision on outstanding contributions as contained in COP20, COP217 was accepted by consensus. 7.4, Budget and Work Program for 2026 to 2029. Paragraph 9 of the draft resolution on the Budget and Work Program for 2026 to 2029 in document COP20, COP217 was accepted after a vote with 68 votes in favor, 19 against, and 11 abstentions. Remainder of the draft resolution on the Budget and Work Program for 2026 to 2029 in document CoP20, COP217 was accepted after a vote with 80 votes in favor, 2 against, and 14 abstentions. 7.5, arrangements for meetings of the Conference of the Parties. The draft decisions in document COP20, Doc 7.5, were accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 7. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Are there any requests for the floor? United States.
Thank you, Chair. While the United States is not requesting to reopen debate on this agenda item, we wish to make a brief statement for the record. The United States does not support the growth budget for the coming triennium recommended by the parties, and is disappointed that the COP did not join our efforts to further constrain costs to streamline the operations and effectiveness of the convention, and to unburden industry, where possible, from undue regulation. We strongly encourage parties in the Secretariat to be mindful that expansive, non-core work dilutes efforts to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten the survival of the species. We look forward to working together productively in the intersession to advance and achieve these aims together. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted. United States. See no more interventions, so the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda Item 7 are adopted. Agenda Items 8, Terms of Reference of the Finance and Budget Subcommittee.
Thank you, Chair. For Item 8, Terms of Reference of the Finance and Budget Subcommittee, the amendments to Resolution Conference 18.2 on establishment of committees, as contained in the annex to document COP20, document 8, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 18.2 was agreed by consensus. That concludes Agenda 8. Thank you, Chair.
Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to request the reopen of this agenda item. Thank you.
I wish to reopen. Kuwait, you wish reopen terms of reference of the Finance and Budget Subcommittee, is it?
Yes, Chair. We would like to open the discussion on this document. Thank you.
The plenary has before is recommendation Kuwait from Committee 2 on Agenda Items 8 Kuwait has presented a motion to open the debate on these items in the plenary. According to Rule 21, this motion must be seconded by another party. Is there another party who supports this motion? Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We support this motion.
Are there representatives of two parties who wish to speak against the motions? Indonesia, please.
Indonesia support the motion.
Fuji.
Fiji strongly opposes the motion.
Anybody else oppose the motions? I would like to remind you that the permission to speak on the motion will be granted only to the representative presenting the motion, the seconder, and the representative of each of two parties wishing to speak against the motion. Intervention must address the motion itself, not the merits on the committee's recommendation. Does any representative of these four parties wish to take the floor? Quiet, please.
So what I understand is the document is open for discussion right now? Or it is
No.
rejected? I'm not clear. Thank you, Chair.
Could you explain, Mr. Stoff?
Thank you, Chair. Since this was agreed by consensus in the committee, the agenda item is not open for discussion. There is a motion to reopen, so you speak to the motion to reopen. Then there is a vote to reopen the agenda item. It's not yet opened, so you can only speak to the motion to reopen the agenda item at this point, or not to reopen in the case of Fiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Safi. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Chair. Still not clear. Our request is to reopen the agenda item number 8. And I'm not clear about the explanation of the CITES Secretariat. Are we able now to speak up about the agenda item? If not, we would like to ask for the vote for the third of the parties, as it is the rules of procedure. So our request to reopen this agenda item. Thank you.
Fuji, please.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji must express in its strongest possible terms our objection to Kuwait's request to reopen this agenda item. Chair, Committee 2 followed a proper procedure. The issue was debated extensively in Committee 2. Parties exercised their right to speak, a motion was put to the floor, a vote was taken, and the results was clear, decisive, and final. Under our rules of procedure, a decision that has been voted and adopted cannot simply be reopened because a party is unhappy with the outcome. To permit this would only violate established procedure. It would fundamentally compromise the integrity and credibility of this conference. Chair, Fiji insists we cannot relitigate a decision that was democratically taken. We cannot overturn a vote because a party did not prevail. We cannot allow precedent where outcomes are challenged until the results shift. Such an approach would erode confidence in CITES governance, especially for small and vulnerable developing countries who rely on fairness and predictability of our process. If we reopen this item today, we will signal to the world that decisions of the COP are negotiable even after a formal vote, and Fiji cannot accept that.
Fiji, sorry, we're in agenda number 8.
Yes, this is the agenda item that I'm talking to, Chair. For the sake of institutional integrity, procedural consistency, and respect for the will of the parties as expressed through a formal vote in Committee 2, Fiji firmly and unequivocally objects to reopening this agenda item. Thank you, Chair.
Can somebody tell us who's that from?
Who is the point of order? Japan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a point of order. It seems that we are discussing agenda item 8, and 7 is over. My impression is that Fiji is talking about the previous, another agenda. So our point of order is that we request for the clarification from the podium. We are discussing agenda item 8. Thank you.
You're correct. I confirm. Kuwait, please.
Yes, Echo Japan. Please, Fiji, we are talking about the terms of reference of the Finance and Budget Subcommittee, not item number 7. We agree on item number 7 and we have no objection for the increase of the budget, so don't worry about that. We just have a minor edit in the resolution and we like to open the discussion for just one word edit. That's my request. Thank you, Chair.
I will start from here. So, the motion to reopen will now be put to a vote without further interventions. A yes vote means is debate on agenda items number 8 will be reopened and the further sustainable discussion will take place. A yes vote means the debate on agenda item 8 will be reopened and the further substantive discussion will take place. A no vote means is the issue will not be reopened for debate and the committee's recommendation will stand and be adopted by the conference without further consideration. A no vote means the issue will not be reopened for debate and the committee's recommendation will stand and be adopted by the conference without further consideration. The motion to open the debate shall be accepted if supported by 1/3 of the representatives present and voting. Is the process clear? I will now start the voting procedure. This is a vote for reopening agenda items 8. The voting type is by normal vote. The vote of the European Union will be cast by the individual member states. Since this is a motion to reopen the debate in plenary, the decision will be adopted by 1/3 of the representatives present and voting. Parties, you have 40 seconds to cast your vote. The ballot is now open. So 40 seconds are up. The ballot is now closed. So the motion is not accepted and not adopted by 1/3 of majority. Technician shows the results. Thank you. So the recommendation of the committee 2 on agenda items 8 are adopted. Agenda items 9, emerging operational matters of the committees. Please.
Thank you, Chair. For item 9, emerging operational matters of the committees, the amendments to the Resolution Conference 18.2 on establishment of committees contained in an annex to document CoP20, document 9, as amended by the Secretariat in its comments and by Australia, were accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 9. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Open the floor. I'll open the floor. Kuwait.
Thank you, Chair. I was requesting in the previous matter that the rules of procedure wasn't taken in place. There is three countries to reopen and one country against. We didn't listen for the second country to reject after to go to a vote. So the rules of procedure is not met in this case. So I was raising my flag. I was raising my point of order to speak, so nobody give me the floor. So in the previous document, we listened to 3 countries in favor to open and 1 country against. We didn't listen for a second country to be against to go to a vote. So this is my point of order in agenda number 8. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kuwait. I give the floor to Secretariat for explain.
Thank you, Chair. We asked if any of the 4 or 3 rather parties that had requested to second and 1 speaking against would wish to take the floor on the motion, not on the substance of the matter, but on the motion. Fiji was the only one that requested to take the floor at that time when we asked whether any of the 3 parties wishing to take the floor would like to do so. That's the rule that's in Rule 2021, and that rule was followed. Nobody requested the floor at the time when this was when the chair asked whether there was anybody who wished to speak in favor or against the motion. Thank you. And no, I don't know. Kuwait asked to vote then. It is our understanding that Kuwait then asked to move to the vote for the reopening. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. México.
Gracias, señor presidente. Cuando solicitaron que se manifestaran delegaciones en contra de que se reabra el debate, nuestra delegación solicitó la palabra, pero usted procedió a discutir si se votaba. Pero quiero que quede en registro que sí, nosotros solicitamos manifestarnos en contra de la reapertura del debate del tema 8, que a nuestro juicio no debió haber sido abierto a votación porque fue revisado en el Comité 2, como se ve en el informe de la presidenta, no hubo comentarios y por consenso se aceptaron las enmiendas. No vemos ninguna razón de procedimiento para solicitar que se haya reabierto el debate. Gracias.
Thank you. Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our understanding is same with Kuwait. Kuwait raised the motion to reopen, and 2 parties supported and 1 party against. No voting seems to be necessary. We can just discuss the content of this agenda item 8. So our understanding is same with Kuwait.
Secretariat.
Thank you very much. The rules of procedure are quite clear on this. If there is a decision coming from the committees, it's to be adopted directly by the Conference of the Parties in plenary session without debate. So it's not possible to speak on the agenda item without first deciding that this should be opened in plenary session so it can be debated in plenary session. So I hope I'm clear. There is a possibility to ask for opening in the plenary session, and that goes to a vote. There's a possibility for the 2 parties who support the reopening to present arguments for the reopening and 2 parties to present arguments for not reopening. Then it's put to a vote, and 2 parties that presented the motion to reopen were given the possibility to ask for the floor, and 2 parties, but there was only 1 opposing the reopening, and that was Fiji, was given the possibility to speak against reopening. And then it proceeds to a vote. There's no debate on the actual agenda item until there is a vote that has happened on whether or not to reopen. This is Rule 21 of the Rules of Procedure, and I hope it's clear now. If you want to reopen, you have to speak to why you want to reopen, and then it proceeds to a vote, or speak against. But only those 2 that have spoken for reopening can speak to that argument, and they did not request for the floor. And then it moves to a vote. Nobody else can be requested. We saw other parties requesting the floor, but nobody else can request the floor at that time until it is reopened and the debate is reopened on the agenda item, of the substance of the agenda item. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 9 are adopted. Next one, agenda items 10, access to funding. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 10, access to funding. The deletion of decisions 18.4, 19.2 to 19.9 on access to funding was accepted by consensus. A new draft decision on innovative financing mechanisms, as contained in CoP20, COP217, was accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 10. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any request? I see no. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 10 are adopted. Agenda items 11, sponsored delegates project. Chair, please.
Item 11, sponsored delegates project. The amendments to Resolution Conference 17.3, Ref COP 19, on sponsored delegates project as contained in the annex to document COP20, Doc 11, were accepted by consensus. A new draft decision was not accepted after a vote with 8 parties voted in favor, 66 votes against, and 3 abstentions. The deletion of decisions 18.12 and 19.10 was agreed. That concludes Agenda 11. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no. So the recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 11 are adopted. I would like to invite the Chair of Committee 2 to introduce the recommendations on strategic matters.
Thank you, Chair. Item 13, CITES Strategic Vision. The indicator 1.4.1 for Objective 1.4 of the CITES Strategic Vision was accepted by consensus. The amendments to Resolution Conference 16.4 on cooperation of CITES with other biodiversity-related conventions contained in Annex 1 to document COP20, Doc 13, Ref 1, with the amendments reflected in Summary Record COM20, COP2, Record 2, Ref 1, were accepted by consensus. The amendments to Resolution Conference 18.3 on CITES Strategic Vision 2021 to 2030 contained in Annex 2 to document COP20, Doc 13, Ref 1, with the amendments reflected in summary record COP20, COP2, Record 2, Rev 1 were also accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.11 to 19.14 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 13. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item 13, CITES Strategic Vision. So the recommendation of the Committee 2 on the agenda item 13 are adopted. Agenda items 14, addressing the workload on enhancing efficiency of the Convention through the permanent committees. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 14, enhancing the work and efficiency of the Convention through the permanent committees. The decisions on enhancing the work and efficiency of the Convention through the permanent committees in COP20, COM25, as submitted by the in-session working group, were agreed by consensus. This concludes Agenda 14. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Are there any requests for the floor? I see none. So the recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 14 are adopted. Next agenda is 15, rule of CITES on reducing risk of future zoonotic disease emergence associated with international wildlife trade.
Thank you, Chair. Item 15.1, report of the Standing Committee, the retention of decision 19.18 and deletion of decisions 19.15, 19.16, and 19.19 were agreed by consensus. The draft decisions on the role of CITES in reducing risk of future zoonotic disease emergence associated with international wildlife trade contained in Annex 2 to document COP20 Doc 15.1 with the amendments reflected in summary record COP20 COM1 Record 1 were agreed by consensus. Item 15.2, One Health and CITES, reducing risk to human and animal health associated with trade in CITES listed species. The resolution contained in Annex 1 to document COP20 Doc 15.2 was not accepted. That concludes Agenda 15. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Any requests for the floor? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda item 15 are adopted. The next one is agenda item 16, cooperation. Chair, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 16.1, cooperation with multilateral environmental agreements and other international organizations. The amendments to Resolution Conference 16.4 on cooperation of CITES with other biodiversity-related conventions contained in Annex 1 to document COP20 Doc 16.1 with the amendments reflected in summary record COP20 COM2 Record 2 were not accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 17.55 Rev COP 19 and 17.56 Rev COP 19 and the renewal of decisions 19.20 and 19.21 were agreed. Item 16.2, cooperation with the Global Strategy for Plant Conservation. The amendments to Resolution Conference 16.5 on cooperation with the Global Strategy for Plant Conservation in document COP20, COM2, Rev 1, as submitted by the in-session working group and as further amended in summary record COP20, COM2, Record 14, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.22, and 19.23 was agreed.
On the item 16.3, Joint CITES CMS African Carnivore Initiative, amendments to paragraph 1b of Resolution Conf 13.3 on cooperation and synergy with the Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals, as outlined in document CoP20 Doc 16.3, were accepted. The revised draft decisions on the CITES CMS African Carnivore Initiative contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20 Doc 16.3 were also accepted. And new draft decisions on development of trade resource kits for African lions, Panthera leo, and leopards, Panthera pardus, and on support to the development of an African lion inventory and database contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20 Doc 16.3 were accepted. So all of these things were adopted by consensus. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairs.
Item 16.4, International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime. Decision 28A on International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, as contained in the annex to document CoP20, document 16.4, was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.26 and 19.27 was agreed. 16.5, cooperation with the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. The draft decisions in Annex 3 to document CoP20, Doc 16.5, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.28 and 19.29 was agreed. That concludes Agenda 16. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Are there any requests for the floor? I see no. So the recommendation of the committees 1 and 2 on agenda items 16 are adopted. Thank you. Next agenda is 17, World Wildlife Trade Report. Please, Chair.
Item 17, World Wildlife Trade Report. The draft decisions in document CoP20, Doc 17, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.30 and 19.31 was agreed. That concludes Agenda 17. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. So, the recommendation of the committee 2 on agenda items 17 are adopted. CITES and forests, agenda item 18.
Agenda 18, CITES and forests. The draft decisions on CITES and forests and document CoP20, COM215, as submitted by a drafting group, and with amendments as reflected in summary record COP20, COM2, record 14, were accepted. The deletion of decisions 19.32 to 19.34 was agreed. I conclude this agenda 18 is concluded. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Any requests for the floor? No. The recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 18 are adopted. Agenda items 19, language strategy for the Convention. Chair, please.
Item 19, language strategy for the Convention. The revisions to decisions 19.38 and 19.39 on language strategy for the Convention contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 19 were accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 19. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 19 are adopted. Agenda number 20, capacity building framework. Please, Chair.
Item 20, capacity building framework, decision 19.40 and the revisions to decisions 19.41 to 19.43 on capacity building framework as contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 20 were accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 20. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda Item 19 are adopted. 20 is adopted. Next agenda item 21, Compliance Assistance Program. Please, Chair.
Item 21, Compliance Assistance Program. The draft decisions on the Compliance Assistance Program contained in Annex to document CoP20, Doc 21 were accepted by consensus with the exception of the retention of paragraph B of Decision 20BB that was accepted after a vote with 63 votes in favor, 14 against, and 8 abstentions. The deletion of decisions 19.44 to 19.46 was agreed. That concludes Agenda 21. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendations of Committee 2 on Agenda Items 21 are adopted. Agenda Items 22. Countrywide review of significant trade. Please, Chair.
Item 22, countrywide review of significant trade. The draft decisions on countrywide review of significant trade contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 22, with amendments reflected in CoP20, Com2, Record 2, Ref 1, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.47 and 19.48 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 22. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So the committee, the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda Items 22 are adopted. The next one, 23, Item 23, CITES 3 Species Program. Please, Chair.
Item 23, CITES 3 Species Program. The draft decision on the CITES 3 Species Program with amendments reflected in CoP20, Com2, Record 12 was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.49 and 19.50 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 23. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Any requests for the floor? None. So the recommendations of Committee 2 on Agenda Items 23 are adopted. Agenda Items 24, United Nations World Wildlife Day.
Item 24, United Nations World Wildlife Day. Document CoP20, Doc 24, Ref 1 was noted. That concludes Agenda 24. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items is noted. Thank you. 25. So CITES Gender Action Plan, please, Chair.
Item 25, CITES Gender Action Plan. The draft decisions in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 25 were accepted after a vote with 53 votes in favor, 22 against, and 11 abstentions. This concludes Agenda 25. Thank you, Chair.
Floor is open. Any requests? Russian Federation, please.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Российская Федерация не поддерживает принятие данного решения. Полагаем, что вопросы гендера не относятся к мандату Конвенции. В рассматриваемом плане действий также употребляются неуниверсальные формулировки, с которыми мы не можем согласиться. Российская Федерация просит отразить нашу позицию в итоговом документе конференции сторон. Мы не просим возобновить дебаты. Спасибо.
Noted. Thank you, Russian Federation. So the recommendation of committees 2 on agenda items 25 adopted with note for Russian Federation. Bahrain, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually raising the flags before the adoptions. We would like to raise our concerns similar to the Russian positions in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. It's be adopted. They will be noted. Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry for late intervention. I would like to, Iran would like also support Bahrain and Russia, and would be grateful if you noted Iran's decision in your note 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, noted. Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We would like to align ourselves with the previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, noted. Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My delegation also aligns with the opposition to this definition.
Thank you. UAE.
Thank you, Chair. We align ourselves with the previous speakers as well. Thank you.
Oman. Thank you, UAE.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oman also would like to align ourselves with the previous country.
Noted. Thank you. We are close. So recommendation of committees 2 on agenda items 25 are adopted. Next one, 26. CITES Global Youth Network. Chair, please.
Item 26, CITES Global Youth Network. The development of the CITES Global Youth Network, CGYN, and the positive outcomes of the CITES Global Youth Summit, CGYS, was noted. The proposed amendments to the Resolution Conference 17.5, Ref COP 18, on youth engagement contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20.26, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 12, were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 26. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. Fiji, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for coming on this agenda item. We note the comments of the Secretariat, and we can live with that, but we just wanted to note on this agenda item that we had requested a new paragraph after paragraph 4 instead of a amendment to paragraph 4, and we had no objections, and it was agreed by consensus. We had proposed a new paragraph, and currently we can see that paragraph 4 has been changed to reflect some of those elements, but not particularly mentioning language around least developed countries and CITES. But in the spirit of moving forward, we can live with this. We just wanted you to take note of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiji. Noted. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 26 are adopted. Agenda item 27, engagement of indigenous peoples and local communities. Chair.
Item 27, engagement of indigenous peoples and local communities. It was agreed to continue using the existing terminology with a footnote when referring to indigenous peoples, local communities, or rural communities in the interim. The draft decisions on indigenous peoples and local communities in Annex 2 to document CoP20.27 with amendment reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 3, Ref 1 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 17.57, Ref COP19, 18.31, Ref COP19, 18.32, Ref COP19, and 19.54 was agreed. With 78 votes in favor, 9 against, and 4 abstentions, the publication of the non-binding guidance on consulting indigenous peoples and local communities on proposals to amend the appendices found in Annex 1 to document CoP20.27 was accepted by the committee. This concludes Agenda 27. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So, recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda item 27 are adopted. Agenda item 28, draft resolution of the creation of an advisory subcommittee of the Standing Committee of people living alongside fauna and flora species included in the CITES Appendix, a related voluntary fund, and their procedure. Chair, please.
Item 28, the draft resolution in document CoP20.28 was not accepted. The committee invited Zimbabwe to present a revised proposal on a permanent forum for people living alongside species of wild fauna and flora to the 81st meeting of the Standing Committee. The inclusion of and other relevant documents at the end of paragraph C of draft decision 20BB contained in document CoP20.27 and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 3, Ref 1 was accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 28. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Are there any requests for the floor? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 28 are adopted. Agenda items 29, livelihoods. Chair, please.
Item 29.1, report of the Standing Committee, and 29.2, document by Zambia. The decisions 20AA and 20BB contained in Annex 3 to document CoP20, document 29.1 with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 4, Ref 1 were accepted by consensus. The retention of decision 20CC, paragraph A, was rejected after a vote with 33 votes in favor, 47 against, and 15 abstentions. Decision 20CC with an amendment as reflected in COM20, COM2, Record 4, Rev 1 was accepted. A new draft decision submitted through in-session document COP20, COM21 was rejected after a vote with 38 in favor, 33 against, and 19 abstentions. The deletion of decisions 18.33, Rev Cop 19, to 18.35, Rev Cop 19 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 29. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? Zambia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, livelihoods does remain central to conservation. Communities at the front lines continue to bear the costs of our decisions, and without tangible benefits, conservation risks losing legitimacy and sustainability. Livelihoods cut across every agenda item, from trade regulation to enforcement, from demand reduction to youth engagement. Zambia, together with our partners, will continue to champion community empowerment and benefit sharing as essential pillars of conservation. Colleagues, we invite parties to keep livelihoods alive through national implementation. Communities are not passive beneficiaries, they are active custodians of biodiversity. Their voices must remain central to our deliberations. Today's decision is not the end of the livelihoods agenda. It is a reminder that our own work must continue beyond motions and resolutions. Communities are watching, and their future depends on how we act together. I thank you.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you. Noted. Any other requests? I see no. So the recommendations of Committee 2 on agenda items 29 are adopted. Next one, 30. Integrating human rights, livelihoods, and food security into the implementation of CITES. Please, Chair.
Item 30, integrating human rights, livelihoods, and food security into the implementation of CITES. The draft resolution on integrating human rights, livelihoods, and food security into the implementation of CITES contained in document COP20.30 was not accepted. This concludes Agenda 30. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Like what you said in Committee number 2, the nexus between food security and livelihoods, especially of rural communities or local peoples, from the perspective of a developing country is very important, and I would like to appeal to the conference to consider this each time they're making a decision. We accept the decision made by the conference, but we want people to have at the back of their minds every time that human rights and food security issues are connected and must never be separated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Noted. South Africa.
Much, Chair. South Africa aligns with the comments from Zimbabwe on this matter. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. South Africa. So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 30 are adopted. Agenda item 31, demand reduction to combat illegal trade. Please, Chair.
Item 31, demand reduction to combat illegal trade. The draft decisions on demand reduction to combat illegal trade contained in the annex to document COP20.31 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2 Record 7 were accepted by consensus. That concludes item 31. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 31 are adopted. Agenda item 32, review of resolutions. Please, Chair.
Item 32, review of resolutions. The amendments to Resolution Conference 10.13, Ref COP 18, on implementation of the Convention for Tree Species as contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 32 were accepted by consensus. The amendments to Resolution Conference 11.11, Ref COP 18, on regulation of trade in plants as contained in Annex 3 to document CoP20, Doc 32 were also accepted by consensus. The draft decision on review of Resolution Conference 10.4, Ref COP 14, on cooperation and synergy with the Convention on Biological Diversity and Resolution Conference 13.2, Ref COP 14, on sustainable use of biodiversity, Addis Ababa Principles and Guidelines as contained in Annex 4 to document CoP20, Doc 32, and with amendments reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 13, were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 32. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 32 are adopted. Next one, item 33, review of decisions. Please, Chair.
Item 33, review of decisions. The amendments to Resolution Conference 13.3 on cooperation and synergy with the Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals as contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 33, and with amendments reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 13, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 18.55 on cooperation on the Black Sea bottlenose dolphin was agreed by consensus. The deletion of decisions 17.108, Ref COP 19 to 17.110, Ref COP 19, on review of significant trade, decisions 19.71 to 19.73, on Malagasy palisanders and rosewoods, Dalbergia spp, and Ebony's Disporos spp, and decision 18.209 on hamhead wrasse was agreed. The retention of decision 17.256, Ref COP 19 on African grey parrots was also agreed by consensus. That concludes item 33. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 33 are adopted. I'd like to invite the chair of committees to introduce the recommendations on compliance-related measures. Please, chairs.
Item 34, national laws for implementation of the Convention. The draft decisions contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 34, with the addition of new decision 20EE as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 10, were accepted by consensus. The draft guidance on the implementation of the Convention in the event of exceptional circumstances that impede the proper functioning of CITES at the national level in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 34 was agreed by consensus. The committee requested the Secretariat to make this guidance available on the CITES website. The deletion of decisions 19.58 to 19.62 was agreed. That concludes Agenda 34. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Zambia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Chair and distinguished delegates, on 13th April 2025, the CITES Secretariat issued clearance for Zambia's statutory instrument that operationalizes our obligations under the Convention. Allow me, Chair, once more again to express Zambia's sincere appreciation to the Secretariat for its invaluable guidance and steadfast support throughout this process. Zambia undertook extensive internal procedures to finalize this regulation. We ensured full alignment with the Zambia Wildlife Act number 14 of 2015 so that the statutory instrument is coherent, enforceable, and fully consistent with our national legislation. This work was enriched by broad consultations across government ministries, civil society, community representatives, and technical experts, demonstrating Zambia's commitment to transparency, inclusivity, and adherence to international best practice. Chair, I'm pleased to announce that as of 28th November 2025, the statutory instrument has been formally signed into law. This is a proud moment for Zambia. It reflects our unwavering determination to uphold the integrity of the Convention while protecting our national interests. We will circulate the gazetted copy in due course, and we celebrate this achievement as a testament to collective effort, partnership, and resilience. Zambia is now taking immediate steps to ensure full and effective implementation of the statutory instrument. This will secure our conservation policy based on sustainable use, equitable community benefit sharing, and strict compliance with the CITES provisions. In parallel, we are strengthening institutional capacity to ensure robust monitoring, traceability, and enforcement, further reinforcing Zambia's credibility and leadership in conservation. We are confident, Chair, that this new law positions Zambia to attain Category 1 status under the CITES National Registration Project. In this regard, I kindly request for a clear and positive signal from our distinguished colleagues in support of Zambia's progress, and commitment. Chair, Zambia stands ready, firmly and proudly to uphold the requirements of the Convention while ensuring that our citizens derive equitable benefits from the sustainable use of our wildlife resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Zambia. Congratulations. Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Российская Федерация не поддерживает принятие данного решения. В пункте 2 и пункте 7 приложения 2 документа 34 содержится упоминание вооруженных конфликтов. Данная тема выходит за рамки мандата и компетенции CITES. Просим отразить позицию Российской Федерации в итоговых документах конференции сторон. Спасибо.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Noted. China.
Thank you, Chair. As the Chair has just announced, the legislation of the Macau SAR of the People's Republic of China has been placed in Category 1 of the National Legislation Project. We are deeply honored that our efforts to this end has received the positive recognition from the CITES Secretariat. This valuable achievement would not have been made possible without the wholehearted support and guidance given to us by our colleagues at the Secretariat and those at the Standing Committee, with special mention to the legal unit in charge of the NLP. On behalf of our government, I would like to express our profound gratitude for the hard work, expertise, and patience conferred to us along the process. The Macau SAR solemnly renews our commitment to continue implementing all rules and regulations of CITES and contributing our part towards protecting wild animals and plants from trade that threatens their survival. Thank you all.
Thank you, China. Congratulations. Any requests? So, I see no. So the recommendation of committees 2 on agenda number 34 are adopted. .1. Chair, please.
Item 35.1, implementation of Article 13 and Resolution Conference 14.3, Ref CoP19 on CITES compliance procedures. The draft decision on scope and application and recommendation to suspend trade contained in Annex 1 to document COP20.35.1 with the amendments to draft decision 20AA and a new draft decision 20BB as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 10 were accepted by consensus. The amendments to the Annex to Resolution Conference 14.3, Ref COP19 on CITES compliance procedures contained in Annex 2 to document COP20.35.1 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 10 were accepted by consensus. 35.2, review of the National Ivory Action Plan. The draft amendments to Annex 3 to Resolution Conference 1010, Ref COP19 on trade in elephant specimens, the guidelines to the National Ivory Action Plan contained in Annex 1 to document COP20.35.2 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 6 were accepted by consensus. The draft decision on review of the NIAP process contained in Annex 2 to the document COP20.35.2 was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.68 to 19.70 was agreed. 35.3, Totoabas. The draft decisions on Totoabas in document COP20.35.2 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 7 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 18.292, Ref COP19 to 18.295, Ref COP19 and 19.74 to 19.76 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 35. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open, please. Any requests? I see none. So, the recommendation, compliance matter 35 of committees 2 on agenda item 35 completions matters are adopted. Items 34, item 36, review of the provisions of the resolution conference 17.7 on the review of the trade in animal specimens reported as produced in captivity. Please, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So draft amendments to paragraphs 2D and H of Resolution Con 17.7, Ref COP 18, on the review of trade in animal specimens reported as produced in captivity, as contained in the Annex to document COP20 Doc 36, were accepted by consensus. A draft decision with change to the name of the database to Captive Production Tracking and Management Database was agreed by consensus, as well as the deletion of decisions 1963 to 1965. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of the committees 1 on agenda items 36 are adopted. Agenda item 37, possession of specimens of species included in Appendix I. Chair, please.
Item 37, possession of specimens of species included in Appendix I. The amendments to Resolution Conference 8.4, Ref COP 15, on national laws for implementation of the Convention as contained in the annex to document CoP20, document 37, with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, record 10, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 19.67 was agreed. That concludes item 37. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. So, the recommendation of committees 2 on agenda items 37 are adopted. So I would like to invite the chair of Committee 2 to introduce the recommendations on matters related to illegal trade and enforcement. Agenda item 38, review of resolution conference 11.3 on compliance and enforcement. Please, Chair.
Item 38, review of resolution conference 11.3, RevCop 19 on compliance and enforcement. The amendments to Resolution Conference 11.3, RevCop 19, on compliance and enforcement, as contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 38, with amendment as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 19.66 was agreed. That concludes item 38. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 38 are adopted. Next one, 39, enforcement matters. Please, Chair.
Item 39, enforcement matters. The amendments to paragraph 4 of Resolution Conference 17.6, RevCop 19, on prohibiting, preventing, detecting, and countering corruption, which facilitates activities conducted in violation of the Convention, contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 39, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, were accepted by consensus. The amendments adding a new subparagraph D to paragraph 9 under regarding enforcement at national level of Resolution Conference 11.3, RevCop 19, on compliance and enforcement, as contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 39, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, were accepted by consensus. The revision of decision 19.79 on enforcement as contained in Annex 3 to document CoP20, Doc 39, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, was accepted by consensus. The revision to decision 19.80, RevCop 20, on annual illegal trade reports as contained in Annex 4 to document CoP20, Doc 39, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, was accepted by consensus. Additional draft decisions on annual illegal trade reports were accepted by consensus. Decision 19.89 and draft decisions 20AA and 20BB on Task Force on Illegal Trade and Specimens of CITES listed 3 species, as contained in Annex 6 to document CoP20, Doc 39, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 7, was accepted by consensus. That concludes item 39. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Requests? I see none. So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda item 39 are adopted. 14. Wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa. Please, Chair.
Item 40, wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa. The draft decisions 28A to 20DD on wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa as contained in the annex to document CoP20.40 and as amended by the Secretariat in its comments were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 18.90, Ref COP 19, 18.91, Ref COP 19, 19.84, 19.85, 19.86, 19.87, and 19.88 was agreed. That concludes item 40. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Are there any requests? I see no. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 40 are adopted. Next one, 41, CITES Big Cats Task Force. Please, Chair.
Item 41, CITES Big Cats Task Force. The draft decisions on illegal trade in big cats contained in the annex to document CoP20.41 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.92 and 19.93 on the CITES Big Cats Task Force was agreed. This concludes Agenda 41. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 41 are adopted. Item 42, implementation of the priority recommendation from the review of the CITES program. Please, Chair.
Item 42, implementation of the priority recommendations from the review of the CITES program. The renewal of decisions 19.94 to 19.96 on the implementation of the priority recommendations from the review of the CITES program was accepted by consensus. The draft decision on the CITES data validation protocol in paragraph 27B of the document CoP20.42 with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 6 was accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 42. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Requests? I see no. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 42 are adopted. '43, CITES categorization of parties. Please, Chair.
Item 43, CITES categorization of parties. The recommendations in document COP20, COM2, 16, as submitted by the working group, including the draft decisions on implementation of priority recommendation 7 and the deletion of decisions 19.97 and 19.98 were agreed by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.97 and 19.98 was agreed. That concludes item 43. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see no. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 43 are adopted. 44, Ivory seizures and domestic Ivory markets. Please, Chair.
Item 44, Ivory seizures and domestic Ivory markets. The committee noted that it was not feasible to undertake the analysis outlined in decision 19.99, the deletion of decisions 19.99 to 19.101 on Ivory seizures and domestic Ivory markets was agreed. This concludes Agenda 44. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So The recommendation of committees 2 on agenda items 44 are adopted. Items 45. Illegal trade in cheetah. Please, Chair.
Item 45, illegal trade in cheetahs. The draft decisions 20AA to 20CC on illegal trade in cheetahs in the in-session document CoP20, COM26, submitted by the Secretariat with amendments as reflected in COM20, COM2, Record 14, were accepted by consensus. The draft decision on cheetahs and the Big Cats Task Force in document COP20, COM26 was not accepted. This concludes item 45. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no request. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 45 are adopted. 46, marine turtles. Please, Chair.
Item 46, marine turtles. The amendments to Resolution Conference 19.5 on conservation of and trade in marine turtles contained in the annex to document COP20.46 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 9 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 18.217, Rev COP19 was agreed. This concludes item 46. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no request. So the recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 46 are adopted. 47, tortoise and freshwater turtles. Please, Chair.
Item 47.1, report of the Standing Committee and the Secretariat. The amendments to Resolution Conference 11.9, Rev COP 18 on conservation of and trade in tortoises and freshwater turtles as contained in Annex 2 to document COP 20.47.1 were accepted by consensus. The report from Madagascar as contained in Annex 3 to document COP 20.47.1 was noted. The deletion of decisions 19.123 to 19.127 was agreed. Item 47.2, trade in tortoises and freshwater turtles from Madagascar. The consolidated draft decisions on tortoises and freshwater turtles in Madagascar as contained in the Secretariat's comments under document COP20.47.2 with amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 9 were accepted by consensus. The draft decisions on illegal trade in tortoises and freshwater turtles in the in-session document COP20, COM2-11 were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 47. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no request. So, recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 47 are adopted. I will now turn our attention to the matters related to regulation of trade. Agenda number 48, proposal to amend Resolution Conference 12.3. Chair, please.
Item 48, proposal to amend Resolution Conference 12.3, Rev COP 19. The draft decision in document COP20, COM2, 13, as submitted by an in-session working group, was accepted after a vote with 71 votes in favor, 17 against, and 13 abstentions. The amendments to Resolution Conference 12.3, Rev COP 19, on permits and certificates in document COP20, COM2, 13, was accepted. This concludes item 48. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? Congo, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. S'agissant du document 48, la République du Congo souhaite rappeler l'importance du respect des délais de traitement des demandes de permis d'importation, comme le proposent les pays d'Afrique centrale dans le document qui a été soumis ici à la COP. Il est essentiel que les parties importatrices ayant adopté des mesures nationales particulièrement strictes veillent à éviter des durées de traitement excessivement longues qui pénalisent fortement nos États. Ces retards prolongés entraînent en effet des conséquences économiques et sociales significatives pour nos gouvernements dont les recettes et les programmes nationaux en dépendent, pour nos partenaires du secteur forestier dont les opérations se trouvent bloquées ou fragilisées, mais surtout pour nos communautés locales et nos populations autochtones qui bénéficient directement des dividendes et des retombées de l'exploitation forestière légale et durable. La République du Congo invite donc respectueusement les parties concernées à prendre en considération cet enjeu majeur et à œuvrer pour un traitement plus harmonisé, équitable et prévisible dans les demandes des permis d'importation. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Noted. Congo, DRC.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous voulons juste signifier que nous adhérons à ce que les Congo-Brazzaville venaient de dire. Merci.
Thank you. Noted. Gabon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous voulons simplement nous associer aux autres pays qui ont déjà intervenu et simplement rappeler que tous les auteurs de cette proposition aimeraient que ce point soit retenu de sorte que désormais, voilà, le traitement de ces permis, les situations observées pendant la période d'intercession entre les deux COP, donc celle de 2022 et maintenant, ne soient plus observées. Merci.
Thank you. Noted. Any other requests? So the recommendation of the Committee on agenda items 48 are adopted. 49, legal acquisition findings. Chair, please.
Item 49, legal acquisition findings. The amendments to Annexes 1 and 3 to Resolution Conference 18.7, RefCop 19, on legal acquisition findings contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20.49 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.128 to 19.131 was agreed. Draft decisions 20AA to 20GG on legal acquisition findings contained in session document CoP20, COM22, as prepared by the Secretariat with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 11, and Record 12 were accepted by consensus. The inclusion of the term founder stock where relevant in the draft guidance on the chain of custody required for demonstrating the legal acquisition of the parental breeding stock contained in Annex 3 to document CoP20.49 was accepted after a vote with 52 votes in favor, 9 against, and 15 abstentions. This concludes Agenda 49. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Brazil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just a point of clarification from our side. What was, in our view, put to the discussion and in draft guidelines was not where relevant, but whenever it appears in the text. Of course, if there's no logical sense in including the term there, we would accept, but it was not web relevant. So I just asked you to include that in the minutes of this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted. Brazil. Any other question? See no. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 49 are adopted. Next one, 50. Non-determined findings. Chair of Committee 1, please.
Thank you. So on non-determined findings, the committee accepted the draft decisions as contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20 Doc 50 by consensus, with a minor amendment to include the word "on" in draft decision 20AA, little b, little ii. And also agreed to the deletion of decisions 19132 to 19134 by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So the recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 50 are adopted. Agenda items 51. Non-determined findings for specimens of Appendix II, species taken from areas beyond national jurisdiction. Chair of Committee 1, please.
Thank you, Chair. On this document, the deletion of decisions 19135 to 19139 were agreed by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So the recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 41 are adopted. 51 are adopted. Introduction from the C. Committee 2, please.
Item 52, introduction from the C. The draft decisions on introduction from the C contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 52, with the comments by the Secretariat and with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 10, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.140 and 19.141 was agreed. That concludes item 52. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. No requests? So the recommendation of Committee 2 on the agenda items 52 are adopted. 53, materials for the identification of specimen of the CITES listed species. Please, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. The committee agrees to the draft decisions on materials for the identification of specimens of CITES listed species in the annex to CoP20 Doc 53 by consensus, with amendments to draft decision 20BB and 20CC proposed by the United States. The committee also agreed by consensus to delete decisions 19142 to 19144. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So, recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 53 are adopted. The next one, 54, identification of timber and other wood products. Please, Chair, Committee of 1.
Thank you, Chair. The committee accepted the draft decision in the annex to the addendum to document CoP20 Doc 54 as amended by the United States and the United Kingdom by consensus. The committee also agreed by consensus to the deletion of decision 19145. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So the recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 54 is adopted. 55, purpose of transaction codes. Please, Chair of Committee number 2.
Item 55, purpose of transaction codes. The definition of purpose of transaction code P contained in paragraph 11A of document CoP20.55 proposed for inclusion in Resolution Conference 12.3, Ref CoP19 on permits and certificates was not accepted. The draft decision on purpose of transaction codes contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20.55 and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 13 was accepted. The deletion of decision 19.15149 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 55. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda item 55 are adopted. 56, electronic systems and information technology. Please, Chair.
Item 56.1, report of the Standing Committee. 56.2, a hub model for the exchange of CITES permits. The draft decisions on electronic systems and information technology contained in an annex to document CoP20.56.1 and amended in document CoP20.56.2 and with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 11 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.150 to 19.152 was agreed. The amendment to paragraph 3D in Resolution Conference 12.3, Ref CoP19 on permits and certificates proposed by the Secretariat in its comments on document CoP20.56.1 were accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 56. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So, recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 56 are adopted. 57. Review of Resolution Conference 8.13 on use of code microchips implants for making live animals in trade. Chairman of Committee 1, please.
Thank you, Chair. The committee accepted the draft decision on use of coded microchip implants for marking live animals in trade in document CoP20.57 as amended by the Secretariat, India and the United Kingdom, which is reflected in summary record CoP20, COM1, Rec 12 by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 57 are adopted. '58. Risk assessment and analysis for border control of CITES listed species. Please, Chair of Committee 2.
Item 58, risk assessment and analysis for border control of CITES listed species. The amendment to paragraph 13 of Resolution Conference 11.3, Ref CoP19 on compliance and enforcement was accepted by consensus. The decisions on the guidance on risk assessment and inspections for CITES trade controls as reflected in COM20, COM2, Record 12 were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.153 to 19.155 was agreed. This concludes Agenda 58. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 58 are adopted. 59, stocks and stockpiles. Committee 2.
Item 59, stocks and stockpiles. It was agreed by consensus to not use the term stock in the context of stored dead specimens. The amendments to the resolutions replacing stocks with stockpiles as set out in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 59, were accepted by consensus. The amendments to the third bullet point of the definition of stockpiles was rejected after a vote with 82 votes against, 18 votes in favor, and 10 abstentions. The definition of stockpile for inclusion in the CITES glossary as contained in COP20, COM214, as amended by the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 17.170, Ref COP19, was agreed. This concludes item 59. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 59 are adopted. 60, transport of live specimens. Please, Chair.
Item 60, transport of live specimens. The draft decision on transport of live specimens contained in the annex to document COP20, Doc 60, with the amendments as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 9, was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.158 and 19.159 was agreed. This concludes item 60. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. No requests. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 60 are adopted. 61, rapid movement of wildlife diagnostic samples and musical instruments. Please, Chair.
Item 61, rapid movement of wildlife diagnostic samples and musical instruments. The draft decisions on rapid movement of wildlife diagnostic samples and efficient movement of musical instruments contained in the annex to document COP20, Doc 61, and amended by the Secretariat with further edits as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 13, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decision 19.160 was agreed. That concludes item 61. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. No requests. So recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 61 are adopted. 62, specimens produced through biotechnology. Please, Chair.
Item 62, specimens produced through biotechnology. The renewal of decisions 19.161 to 19.163 on specimens produced through biotechnology as contained in the annex to document COP20, Doc 62, was accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 62. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda item 62 are adopted. 63, definition of the term appropriate and acceptable destination. Please, Chair.
Item 63, definition of the term appropriate and acceptable destinations. The renewal of decisions 19.164 to 19.166 on definition of the term appropriate and acceptable destinations as contained in the annex to document COP20, Doc 63, was accepted by consensus. That concludes Agenda 63. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So, recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda Item 63 are adopted. 64. Disposal of confiscated specimens. Please, Chair.
Item 64.1, Report of the Standing Committee. The amendments to Resolution Conference 17.8, Ref COP 19, on disposal of illegally traded and confiscated specimens of CITES-listed species contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 64.1, with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 11, were accepted by consensus. The retention of decisions 19.169, 19.171, and 19.173 on disposal of confiscated specimens as contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 64.1 was agreed. The deletion of decisions 19.170, 19.172, and 19.174 was agreed. 64.2, review of Resolution Conference 17.8, Ref COP 19. Deleting the word disposal from the title of Resolution Conference 17.8, Ref COP 19, and replacing it with the word custody was not agreed. The amendment to paragraph E of option 1, Captivity, in Annex 1 to Resolution Conference 17.8, Ref COP 19, as contained in the Secretariat's comments in document CoP20, Doc 64.2, was accepted by consensus. Item 64.3, voluntary register of placement facilities for confiscated live specimens. Decisions 20AA through 20DD as presented in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 64.3, and with further amendments from information document CoP20, Inf 78 were not accepted. The amendments to Resolution Conference 17.8, Ref COP 19, on disposal of confiscated specimens as presented in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 64.3, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, CoP20, COM2, Record 11 were accepted by consensus. That concludes item 64. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Israel, please.
Thank you, Chair. Not wanting to stop the nice flow, but there is an error in the document COP20 COM2 Rec 11, which was never brought up to the committee for approval because there wasn't time. And this is the basis for the report by the chair just now on the conclusions. And I'm not reopening the debate, it's just there's an error in the document that was not discussed in the committee that before it's approved here in plenary, we would like to bring to the attention. In document COM2, Record 11, in the discussion of this item 64.1, on page 2 of that document, there is the decision of the committee on what's called question 7. And we had extensive discussions in the committee on this item, and I'm not going to reopen it. It's just that what's reflected here in the record is an error. And if you look at the record document under 64.1 on the second page where it says question 7, it reads as follows: is there a commercial facility, preferably registered, breeding this Appendix I species? Is that facility interested in the specimens? And is the confiscated party satisfied that there are no grounds for concern that the transfer will not stimulate further illegal or irregular trade? The error is in the English the word "not" in the last sentence actually makes the whole thing incorrect, and that word was supposed to have been deleted. So the last part, the last clause should read, "Are there no grounds for concern that the transfer will stimulate further illegal trade?" So the word "not" that was discussed in the committee should not be there for correct English. So we would just, as I said, this some record was never discussed in the committee, so I have no choice but to bring it up at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Israel. Noted, and the Secretariat will be correct. Thank you. Any requests? So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 64 are adopted. 65, labeling system for the trade in caviar.
Item 65, labeling system for trade in caviar. The report and the recommendations by the Standing Committee as contained in the document CoP20, Doc 65 were noted. The deletion of decisions 19.175 and 176 was agreed. This concludes item 65. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 65 are adopted. 66, trade in stony corals. Please, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. On the report from the Standing Committee, the revised decisions 19177 and 19178, as amended by New Zealand and reflected in Summary Record CoP20 COM1 Rec 5 Ref 1, along with new draft decisions in Annex 1 to document CoP20 Doc 66.1 and the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 11.10 Ref CoP15 and Resolution Conf 9.6 Ref CoP19 in Annex 2 to document CoP20 Doc 66.1 were accepted by consensus. On 66.2, trade in asexually produced stony corals, the amendments to Annex 1 to Resolution Conf 11.10 Ref CoP15 on trade in stony corals as contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20 Doc 66.2 and further amended by Australia as reflected in Summary Record CoP20 COM1 Rec 5 Ref 1 were accepted by consensus. This concludes agenda item 66. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 66 are adopted. 67. Review of CITES provisions related to trade in specimens of animals and plants not of wild source. Please, Chair.
Item 67.1, report of the Standing Committee. The draft decisions on review of CITES provisions related to trade in specimens of animals and plants not of wild source contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 67.1, with the amendment as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 11, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.179 and 19.180 was agreed. Item 67.2, considerations and recommendations for ranching of aquatic species. The draft decisions on ranching of aquatic species contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 67.2 were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 67. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda 67 are adopted. 68, review of Resolution Conference 12.10 on registration of operation that breed Appendix I animal species in captivity for commercial purpose. Please.
Item 68, the amendments to Resolution Conference 12.10, Rev CoP15 on registration of operations that breed Appendix I animal species in captivity for commercial purposes in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 68, with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 12, were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 68. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So, I see none. So, the recommendation of the Committee 2 on Agenda 68 are adopted. 69, guidance of the term artificially propagated. Please, Chair.
Item 69, guidance on the term artificially propagated. The draft decisions on guidance on terms related to the production and source of CITES regulated plants contained in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 69, with the amendment as reflected in CoP20, COM2, Record 12, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.182 and 19.183 was agreed. That concludes item 69. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no requests. So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda 69 are adopted. Next one. 70. Use of phytosanitary certificates as a certificates of artificial propagation.
Item 70, use of phytosanitary certificates as certificates of artificial propagation. The draft decision in the annex to document CoP20, Doc 70, was not accepted. This concludes item 70. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? So, the recommendation of Committee 2 on Agenda Item 70 are adopted. Species conservation and trade. 71. Assessment of Appendix I listed species. Please, Committee 1.
Thank you, Chair. The report and the recommendations by the Animals and Plants Committees were noted. The deletion of decisions 19184 and 19185 was agreed by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So, recommendation of Committee 1 on Agenda Items 71 are adopted. 72. Identifying information on species at risk of extinction affected by international trade. Committee 1, please.
Thank you, Chair. The draft decisions in document COP20, COM15, as amended by China and Mexico and reflected in summary record COP20, COM1, Rec 14, were accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19186 to 19188 was also accepted by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Are there any requests? I see none. So, recommendation of Committee 1 on Agenda Items 72 are adopted. 73. Trade in endemic species. Please, Chair.
Item 73, trade in endemic species. The draft decisions on trade in threatened endemic species in document COP20, COM212, submitted by the in-session working group and with amendment as reflected in COP20, COM2, Record 14, were accepted after a vote with 84 votes in favor, 3 against, and 11 abstentions. This concludes item 73. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. I see no request. So the recommendation of Committee 2 on agenda items 73 are adopted. 74, West African vultures. Please, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. The revised decisions contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20 Doc 74 were accepted by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? The recommendation of Committee 1 on agenda items 74 are adopted. 75, conservation of amphibians. Please, Chair of Committee 1.
Thank you, Chair. The draft decision in the Annex to document CoP20 Doc 75 were accepted with an amendment to draft decision 20AA proposed by Brazil as recorded in summary record CoP20 Com1 Rec 1 Ref 1. The deletion of decisions 19197 to 19199 was also agreed, all by consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Any requests? I see none. So the recommendation of the Committee 1 on agenda item 75 are adopted. 76, elephants. Please, Chair.
Item 76.1, implementation of the Resolution Conference 1010, RevCop 19 on trade in elephant specimens. The information contained in document CoP20, document 76.1, was noted. The renewal of decisions 19.35 to 19.37 on financial and operational sustainability of the MIC and ETS programs as contained in Annex 4 to the document CoP20, Doc 76.1, and with amendments as reflected in CoP20, Com2, Record 5 was accepted by consensus. The amendments to paragraphs 7 and 8 of Resolution Conference 1010, RevCop 19, on trade in elephant specimens contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20, Doc 76.1 were accepted by consensus. The draft decisions on management of stockpiles contained in Annex 3 to document CoP20, Doc 76.1 were accepted by consensus. Draft Decision 28A, revised decisions 18.226, RevCop 20, 19.107, RevCop 20, and 19.108, RevCop 20, on trade in Asian elephants, as contained in Annex 6 to document CoP20, Doc 76.1, with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, Com2, Record 5, were accepted by consensus. The renewal of decisions 19.107 and 19.108 on trade in Asian elephants, with the amendments as reflected in CoP20, Com2, Record 5 was accepted by consensus. The deletion of decisions 19.102 and 19.103 on trade in mammoth ivory was accepted. Item 76.2, implementing aspects of Resolution Conference 1010, RevCop 19, on the closure of domestic ivory markets. The renewal of decisions 18.117, RevCop 19, 18.118, and 18.119, RevCop 19, on closure of domestic ivory markets as contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 76.1, was accepted. The proposed draft decisions in Annex 2 to document CoP20 Doc 76.2 were not accepted. Item 76.3, Ivory stocks and stockpiles. The deletion of decisions 19.156 and 19.157 on stocks and stockpiles, elephant ivory, was accepted by consensus. The renewal of decisions 18.184, Rev CoP20, and 18.185, Rev CoP20 on ivory stocks and stockpiles as contained in Annex 2 to document CoP20 Doc 76.3 with amendments as reflected in CoP20 COM2 Record 5 was accepted by consensus. 76.4, report on monitoring the illegal killing of elephants. The report on monitoring the illegal killing of elephants was noted. 76.5, report on the elephant trade information system. The amendments to paragraph 27G in Resolution Conference 1010, Rev CoP19, on trade in elephant specimens, and paragraph 4 in Resolution Conference 11.17, Rev CoP19, on national reports contained in Annex 1 to document CoP20, Doc 76.5 were accepted by consensus. The draft decisions on the exchange of information between the annual illegal trade report and the elephant trade information system, as well as on the CITES network analysis and on guidance on party-specific compliance measures informed by the CITES report in document CoP20, COM210, submitted by the in-session working group were accepted by consensus. Item 76.6, results of the African Elephant Dialogue Meeting. The outcome of the African Elephant Range State Dialogue Meeting as set out in the communique of the meeting and included in the annex to document CoP20 Doc 76.6 was welcomed. The deletion of decisions 19.167 and 19.168 was agreed. 76.7, sustainable financing for the African elephant conservation and management. The draft decisions on sustainable financing for the African elephant conservation and management in document CoP20, COM2, 3, as submitted by the in-session working group with amendments as reflected in COM20, COM2, Record 13, were accepted by consensus. This concludes Agenda 76. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Floor is open. Please. I see no requests, so the recommendation of the Committee 2 on agenda items 76 are adopted. So, dear colleagues, distinguished delegates, thank you for your collaboration this morning. We have made a really great progress, and you deserve a break for lunch. Secretariat, any housekeeping announcement, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just to inform the participants and delegates that the extraordinary meetings of the Animals and Plants Committees will take place tomorrow, on 5th of December 2025, tentatively scheduled for 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., tomorrow from 5 to 6 p.m., in the following rooms. First, the extraordinary meeting of the Plants Committee will take place in Great Bustard Room. The extraordinary meeting of the Animals Committee will take place in the Snow Leopard Room. This will be announced and confirmed again in a later housekeeping announcement. And we will resume the afternoon session at 2 p.m. sharp. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. Thank you. We will resume our session at 2 p.m. Bon appetit.